let's be honest for a second. The most noticeable difference that I hear between an amateur mix and a professional mix is how well the vocals are mixed and how well they sit in the mix. So the most frustrating thing with me when it came to recording vocals was that I would have a solid foundation. I would think I have a nice microphone, I set the gain right, and the singer and the performance was great. Then I would start mixing the vocals, and I would do every mix like how every YouTuber would say. They would throw on an EQ, they would throw on a compressor, and then maybe throw on a de-esser after compressing the heck out of it, and then after that, maybe throw on a reverb and a delay. And then after when I would do that, it would sound good, but then all of a sudden when I would put it in a full mix, it would just get lost. So I choose to stop being frustrated with my mixes, and I did something that I didn't think I was gonna do. I stopped mixing and I went back to the drawing board. So after countless hours of watching videos, taking courses, and even going out to a professional studio, asking professional producers, seeing on what gear they use and how they use the gear, I took all the knowledge that I've learned from all these people and create my own vocal chain. And this is the vocal chain that I use for all my mixes now. Just listen to this before and after. Here's the raw vocals. But I don't know how to get over you. And here's the vocals in a full mix. But I don't know how to get over you. I know how to drop my tears and put my makeup on. So I'm gonna break down my vocal chain step by step, and if you would like to follow along, I made this exact vocal chain available for you with third-party plugins and stock plugins in the description below. So let's get into this mix. So when I was creating this vocal chain, one thing that I found out when I went to a professional studio is that they have compressors and preamps and tube microphones before they do any processing. So there's already processing going on before they do any plugins at all. So usually the stuff that they'll have is a tube microphone going into a preamp, and out of that preamp they'll go into a compressor, and out of that compressor they'll either go to an EQ or maybe something else. But sometimes the EQ will be on the preamp, so it'll be like an EQ preamp then through a compressor. But that's what their main vocal chain was doing. And so I wanted to emulate that same vocal chain just with digital products, because all I have is a good microphone, but then I'm just using Universal Audio Volt interface, and it's only like $100 or something like that. So I tried to recreate the analog gear with the digital gear, and it sounds just like it. So let's look at the first plugin that I like to use. And so the first thing in my vocal chain that I like to do is Waves Tune. And with the Waves Tune, it sounds super natural and everything, but I mainly just use this just to take those certain notes when they're holding out, that it's not varying in different notes, that it's staying consistent. So I'm just doing that just a little bit here and there. And then the main thing that I'm starting off my chain is a compressor. And the compressor that I'm using is the CLA 76. And how I have that is that I have a vocal preset on here that's just their vocal preset. Let's see where it's at, right there. And I'm just using the Blackie compressor on here, and I'm doing a medium fast attack and then a fast release to a 4:1 ratio just to even things out. So this is with it off. But I don't know how to get over you. I know how to dry my tears. And this is with the compressor on. But I don't know how to get over you. I know how to dry my tears and... See, it's just bringing consistency and bringing those high parts and those low parts and bringing them even. So let's move on to the next one. The next thing that I like to do is EQ. And then what I'm using for the EQ is the SSL channel by Waves. Love this EQ. I use it for everything. And so for the EQ, all I'm doing is that I'm just rolling off 60 hertz because we're not going to want any of that mud in the mix. Now, the first place that I'm boosting is 10K, and the reason why I'm doing 10K is because this is a chorus part and it's a female vocal, and I just wanted it to pop out in front of the mix just a little bit. And we're just boosting that a little bit. And then the high mids, I'm just boosting 4.5K just to add some bite to the vocal. And then I'm boosting around 1.7K, around 1.5, 1.7, just to add some throatiness and grit to the vocal. And I'm not taking any lows out right now, but this is with it off. But I don't know how to get over you. I know how to dry my tears. And then this is with it on. But I don't know how to get over you.
to dry my tears and put.
It just pushes it up front in the mix. And then the next thing that I'm doing is another compressor. And the other compressor that I'm using is on the SSL channel. This compressor is super good. I'm doing the channel out, so that means you go EQ and then compressor instead of vice versa. And I'm just using their fast attack, just going all the way down. And then I'm doing a 6-to-1 ratio with a 3.0 threshold. And so it's just controlling a lot of those highs, those pokiness from the vocals. So this is with it off.
But I don't know how to get over you. I know how to dry my tears and put my makeup on.
And then this is with it on.
But I don't know how to get over you. I know how to dry my tears and put my makeup on.
It's doing a ton of cleanup. And then back then, that's where I would usually stop with compressors. But then after a while, just learning from other people, I started using more compressors. And so after that compressor, I'm doing another compressor. And the compressor that I'm using is the CLA 76, and I'm using the Blackie setting. But the preset I'm using is the in-your-face vocal. And because I'm using this, it originally was on the Bluey setting. And to me, the Bluey setting was just a little too harsh for the microphone that I was using. And so I'm using the Blackie setting because it just adds a little more warmth to the vocal. And then it's pushing pretty hard. And then I'm doing a medium fast attack, fast release, 4-to-1 ratio. So this is with it off.
But I don't know how to get over you. I know how to dry my tears.
And then this is with it on.
But I don't know how to get over you. I know how to dry my tears and put my makeup on.
I mean, this preset is doing like what it says. It's just bringing it up in your face. And so it's cutting through the mix when we have a full mix. And I'll show you that at the end. And so after that, I'm using a de-esser because we're pushing it so much. I don't want those syllables to be pushing out. And so I'm just using Wave's de-esser plugin. And I'm just bringing the threshold down, just doing the side chain, listening to the s, and just taking those out. So this is with it off.
Know how to dry my tears and put my makeup on. I know how to.
And then this is with it on.
Know how to dry my tears and put my makeup on. I know how to ride.
Just controlling those syllables. And then after that, I'm doing a multiband compressor. And let me tell you, this was a major key on how I get my vocals from cutting through and still having that warmth and that body and tone in my vocals. And so right here, I'm just taking out around 250 hertz, just dipping that out just a little bit, just to where I'm not getting that low rumble in the mix. And I'm also controlling a little bit of the low mids to where it's not pushing out in the mix, but on certain syllables, it's pushing out a little more. So I'm trying to control those parts. Another part where I'm controlling is around the highs and the high mids. So for the highs, I'm wanting to control that harshness that I'm getting out of the vocal just to add some warmth. So I'm just dipping that out just a little bit. And then with the high mids, I'm taking out around 4K or 4.5K just because it was just being a little too harsh. So I dipped that out, and then I'm bringing the threshold down to where it's controlling it. So this is with it off.
Know how to dry my tears and put my makeup on. I know how to write another breakup song.
And then this is with it on. Listen to how much it cleans up the vocal.
Know how to dry my tears and put my makeup on. I know how to write another breakup song.
It's crazy how good this plugin is. It's so good. Then the next thing that I'm doing is a limiter, just to take out some of those peaks where she's pushing a little too hard on the vocal. And so I'm just wanting to even that out. So I'm just bringing the threshold down and seeing where those peaks are landing, and then I'm just bringing it down to that. So this is with it off.
Know how to dry my tears and put my makeup on. I know how to write another breakup song.
And then this is with it on.
Know how to dry my tears and put my makeup on. I know how to write another breakup song.
It's just evening it out. And then the next thing that I like to do is effects. Now, with my effects, I used to go onto a bus and I would do two different things. I would do a reverb and then a delay. And then what I end up finding out is that that was clouding up a lot of my mix to where I would have the vocals up in front, but then when I would do that reverb and delay, it would just take out all the stuff that I already did. And so I tried out this new 2 delay trick and it's done a world of difference. So I'm doing 2 stereo delays. One of them I'm doing to just add some width to the vocal, and the other one is to get that wide effect with it. So let's look at the first delay. The first delay I got is a stereo delay, and the plugin that I'm using is actually the stock plugin for Logic. It's amazing and it just sounds the best to me. And so what I'm doing is that I'm taking off the tempo sync, and I'm doing on the left side I'm doing 144 milliseconds, and on the right side I'm doing 176 milliseconds, just to where I'm getting some nice width out of the vocal. And then I'm doing a 520 low cut on both sides, and then I'm doing no feedback or crossfade because I'm just wanting some width out of the vocal. This is without the stereo delay.
Know how to dry my tears and put my makeup on. I know how to ride another.
And then this is with it on.
Know how to dry my tears and put my makeup on. I know how to write another breakup song.
You notice it almost doesn't sound like a delay. It sounds like a room reverb. And you're probably asking yourself, why don't you just use a room reverb? Well, here's the thing. When I use a room reverb, it kind of gets into the center of the vocal to where the vocal and the reverb are fighting with each other. And so when you add this delay, it just goes on the sides of the vocal to where the vocal has enough room to push out in the center. And so the next thing that I like to do for like big choruses or something like that is I like to use that same stereo delay, but I like to make it a little bit bigger. And so for this chorus part on the vocal, I'm using the stereo delay, but I'm doing something a little bit different. So I'm doing the tempo sync on this to where you're going to hear the delay, but so I want it in the time of the song. And so for the left side, I'm doing 474 milliseconds, and on the right side, I'm doing 486 milliseconds, still doing a low cut at 520 on both sides, still no feedback on either side, but I am doing a crossfade around 28% for the left and right to where they're not clouding each other up. And so this does an amazing job of widening the vocals, especially on a big chorus. And then I just go up to taste and just choose how much I want of it. So this is with it off.
Know how to dry my tears and put my makeup on. I know how to write another breakup song.
And then this is with it on.
Know how to dry my tears and put my makeup on. I know how to write another breakup song. How to sound okay when I call.
Just sounds so good, especially when it's in the full mix. So let me show you what it sounds like in a full mix.
But I don't know how to get over you. I know how to dry my tears and put my makeup on. I know how to write another breakup song. How to sound okay when I call my mom.
Sounds so good. Now, sometimes I won't use any reverb at all, but then sometimes there are going to be some moments to where it's like, okay, I want a little bit of reverb on the vocal. And so I'm going to show you what I do now when it comes to a reverb. So what I'll do is that I'll go down here and create a new bus. Let's choose just a bus that I'm not using. Let's do bus 33. And so we'll name that verb. And then I'll choose my verb of choice, and my verb of choice is, of course, the Valhalla Vintage verb. And then I'm going to use a plate setting, and then I'm just going to bring that decay down just a little bit to where it's like right there. And then I'm going to do a 250 or 280. Let's just do 280 hertz, just a low cut right there. And then let's just see how it sounds like. It's going to sound pretty muddy right now, but I'm just going to see what it sounds like.
But I don't know how to get over you.
Now, if you notice, this reverb is clouding up a lot of the vocal in those mid areas, and we don't want that. So what I do now is that I sidechain my reverb to my vocal. And so what I like to do is that I'll take my reverb on that bus, and then on that same bus, I'll do a compressor, and then I'm just using the normal, just stock plug-in compressor. I'm going to go to the sidechain setting, then I'm going to go to audio, and then let me find the vocal. Let's see what I name it. I named it Vox 3. do that. And then I'll do the auto gain off, bring the threshold down, bring it up to a 8-to-1, no makeup gain. Oh yeah, it's already set to 0. And then I'm doing a fast attack, fast release, out of soft knee. Here's what the graph looks like. And then I'll just go up to taste with the reverb, and then you'll see to where when the vocals start singing, at the very end, you'll start hearing the trail off of the reverb. And you can do this with your delays too, but this is what it sounds like.
But I don't know how to get over you. I know how to dry my tears and put my makeup on.
You hear how it cleans up the mix just a ton? Let me exaggerate that reverb real quick, and then let me go on and off with the compressor. So this is with the compressor off.
But I don't know how to get over you.
And then this is with it on.
But I don't know how to get over you. I know how to dry my tears.
It just cleans up the mix a ton. So if you want to use a reverb, I suggest you sidechain your reverb, and sometimes sidechain your delays too. So if you like how I did my vocal chain, make sure you pick it up in the description below. And if you want to check out another video, check out this one.